isolation. Within the darkness of Ruinstorm, each planet was on its own, severed from both Terra and its surroundings. Even in the night sky, the stars were dimmed by the reddish fog, reminding all trapped within of their confinement. Without the light of Terra's Astronomicon, travel between planets was nigh impossible. As the Loyalists struggled simply to survive, the traitors stalked within the darkness, bringing utter despair and destruction. How will these seemingly doomed sectors survive? Welcome to our series on Warhammer 40k and the Horus Heresy, explaining the origins of the Imperium and Chaos. In this 10th video, we will explore events within the Ruinstorm and the creation of the Imperium Secundus. You probably know already that the Chaos Gods are an insidious influence on the minds of anyone they can get their tentacles on. The good news is that while real-life mental health issues can be just as chaotic, the path to recovery is much easier than eternal war. It's professional therapy from our paid partner, Betterhelp, at betterhelp.com/wizardsandwarriors. Whether you have a clinical issue, suspect you might, or want honest advice from a professional source to unlock your potential, your growth, and your health, Betterhelp aims to make the problems you face easier to solve. Unlike classic therapy options, BetterHelp aren't about face-to-face meetings in someone's office. They bring a professional therapist into your life via your phone, video chat, or even messaging. Mix that with extremely flexible schedules and over 30,000 therapists on their roster, and you'll be able to say what you need to say and get the advice you need at a time and place you want it. Simply fill out a questionnaire to get you matched with suitable professionals, which in most cases is done within 48 hours. Once you've found someone right for you, you pick your methods and times, but you can always change these based on how things go. Get started via our link in the description, betterhelp.com/wizardsandwarriors. This link gives a discount on your first month to help you give BetterHelp a go. Following the Battle of Nukeria, the majority of the Word-Bearers and World-Eaters left the Ultramar sector, with only a few traitors remaining behind to freely pillage vulnerable worlds. Rabute Guilliman, the Ultramarines' Primarch, was powerless against them, as interstellar travel and communication were nearly impossible for Loyalists due to the influence of the Ruinstorm. In a desperate effort to save what was left of his domain, Rabute sent a Loyalist Iron Warrior named Barabbas Dantiok to the fringe planet of Sotha. Sotha was home to an ancient mountain-sized Xeno device nicknamed Pharos. After more than a year of grueling work, Dantiok managed to turn the device on. With its power, the Ultramar capital, Macragge, was lit up to serve as a beacon in the warp. Additionally, Pharos played a secondary role in allowing interstellar communication and even teleportation in emergency situations. Despite its usefulness, the Pharos wasn't omnipotent. The long process of calibration allowed communication with only 30 planets a day at most, and any attempt to communicate with anyone outside of the Ruinstorm was extremely strenuous on the device, and ultimately unsuccessful. Terra, the planet Guilliman wanted to contact the most, was completely out of reach. Guilliman had to choose what to do next, as other Loyalists would arrive soon. The first option that came to mind was a march to Terra, in order to bolster the defences of the Cradle of Humanity before Horus could reach it. However, there was no news from Terra within the Ruinstorm. For all Guilliman knew, the planet could have already been destroyed, and charging blindly into what was potentially a massive swarm of traitors posed incredible danger. Thus, the pragmatic side of Guilliman took over. He declared that until proven otherwise, the Emperor was dead and Terra had fallen. Between late 009 M31 and 010 M31, Loyalist fleets arrived, consolidating most of the forces within the Ruinstorm. In total, 47,000 Ultramarines gathered on Macragge, as the rest were part of crucial garrisons or involved in the underground war on Calth. This force consisted of Lionel Johnson and the 20,000 Dark Angels that were left after the Thramas Crusade. Joining them were 15,000 Space Marines from dozens of splinter fleets, such as the Space Wolves, White Scars, Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard. Most notable among their number was Alexis Pollux, a commander from the Battle of Thal, and Artellus Numian, the Salamander's first captain. The last ones to arrive were 100,000 Blood Angels led by Sanguinius. On top of those already assembled, two more unusual guests joined the Loyalist host. These were the Primarchs, Vulkan and Conrad Curze. Following the Dropsite massacre, Vulkan became a prisoner of Conrad Curze, who tortured him to the best of his abilities. Yet the perpetual nature of Vulkan made him unable to die. With each passing day, Conrad inflicted increasingly vicious methods of not only torture but also murder. Vulkan was killed hundreds of times, each time regenerating back to health. After 2 years of unrelenting torture, Vulkan escaped, teleporting onto Macragge. After his ordeal, there was no humanity left inside him. All that remained was a violent shell of a man who couldn't even speak. Only days after Vulkan's arrival on Macragge, Conrad Curze escaped Lion's flagship and started terrorizing Ultramar's capital. Sensing his hated oppressor, Vulkan started chasing after Curze, and the two fought multiple times. Vulkan lost every time, but due to his perpetual nature, death was denied to him after his bout. Their endless series of combats ended when another perpetual, John Grammaticus, stabbed Vulkan through the heart with a relic spear. With this grave wound, Vulkan stopped regenerating and was put into a state of suspended death. Following this, Conrad hid in the bowels of Ultramar and waited for another opportunity to strike. Numian was shocked to discover that his Primarch gave no life signals, but he didn't give up. He took Vulkan to the Salamander's homeworld, Nocturne, and in a ritual sacrificed his life to bring Vulkan back. Yet before Vulkan returned back to his senses, he was temporarily possessed by the Emperor, who used his body to forge the Talisman of Seven Hammers, an extremely powerful artifact. Vulkan was then given an order to return to Terra. With the power of the newly acquired artifact, he started his 4-year-long voyage to Terra, using the Eldari webway to emit the Ruinstorm. Back on Macragge, Guilliman had managed to convince Sanguinius and Lion of his idea of a dead emperor. Thus, the Ultramar sector was rebranded as the last stand of the Imperium of mankind, its role being to preserve what Horus intended to destroy. This new state was called Imperium Secundus. It would be led by a triumvirate, with Sanguinius taking the role of Imperator Regent, Lion being chosen as Lord Protector or War Master, and Guilliman being Lord Warden, the head of administration. Shortly after taking the position of Lord Protector, Lion left Macragge to look for Conrad. Answering every distress call, Lion fought the Word-Bearers and bands of World Eaters time and again, yet he saw no sign of Curze. As the Imperium Secundus grew secure and stable, the scattered legion of Night Lords attempted to reforge itself. Kurkesh the Pale, along with Gendor Scrivok, gathered 20,000 Night Lords, which consisted of 40% of the remaining legionnaires. Kurkesh wanted to legitimize his claim of leading the legion, so he started looking for the flagship of Conrad Curze, the Nightfall. As the ship was badly damaged, it must have been hiding among planets uncolonized by the Imperium. In the search, the Night Lords stumbled into Sotha. As the light of Pharos revealed its location only on Macragge, Lion decided not to draw attention to Sotha. Only a token force of 1,100 Space Marines, led by Alexis Pollux, were defending the planet. Their defensive strategy relied not on a large garrison, but on deep scouting with light ships. For months, the Night Lords stalked the defenders, learning their patrol paths and habits. After the preparations were complete, late in 010 M31, one of the Night Lords' ships was intentionally damaged to look like a drifting hulk, and sent on a collision course with Sotha. This ship was intercepted by a patrol and destroyed. Following the incident, the patrol went to the relay station to report the possible presence of the Night Lords. Unfortunately, the relay station had already been taken over by the traitors under the command of Scrivok. After the Ultramarines docked, the trap was sprung, and the Night Lords took over the ship. Scrivok filled the ship with 800 Space Marines and damaged it to the brink of destruction. Meanwhile, Kurkesh ambushed and destroyed the rest of the patrol ships before any of them could inform the planet. Hours later, the Loyalist orbital station in orbit of Sotha was contacted by the mauled patrol ship, which requested immediate help and docking clearance. In a decision that sealed their doom, the station accepted their pleas. Caught unaware, the 500 Ultramarines and the station were decimated. However, a few strongholds remained when the main Night Lords fleet arrived. Not wanting to lose the glory of victory, Scrivok pushed his men to clear the station before Kurkesh could aid him. In total, the Night Lords lost 200 men in their drive to clear orbit. Having now achieved total space dominance, the Night Lords decided against orbital bombardment, as enigmatic Pharos piqued their interest. Thus, the traitors shuttled to the surface and attacked the Castellum. The defenders put up a fierce fight, killing 2,000 Night Lords, but they were eventually overrun. Around the same time, Dantioch made contact with Macragge. Upon hearing that Sotha was under attack, Guilliman rushed to the planet. However, the journey would take him a few days. In the meantime, Dantioch managed to contact a Loyalist fleet of 2,500 strong that was only 18 hours away. While his fellow Loyalists called for reinforcements, Alexis Pollux tried to turn Pharos into a fortress. With only about 100 Space Marines and a contingent of Mechanicum, this was a daunting task. Pharos had dozens of entrances, yet only 6 of them led inside the device. The rest led to dead ends, or shrank to sizes too small for the Space Marines. Alexis made use of most of them, luring the traitors into making pointless and costly assaults on dead ends. Rockets fired from inside the caves robbed the traitors of air support. Night Lord scouts were ambushed in quick sallies. Pharos itself helped out, as its beacon created interferences that blocked teleportations. This problem was overcome when Scrivok made a deal with a demon. At noon on the second day of battle, Krukesh teleported inside Pharos. Although several Night Lords teleported inside walls, the attack was successful, and Dantioch was taken hostage. At the same time, an all-out offensive was carried out. Alexis's position was overrun, but not before his men killed an additional 200 traitors. With both leaders captured, Sotha was lost and Pharos was turned off. The incoming Loyalist reinforcements were now blind. However, they were only 9 hours away in sublight speed travel. Pharos was deemed too important to be left in the traitors' hands, but retaking Sotha against a traitor host that outnumbered them 7-1 was impossible. Hence, the destruction of Pharos became the main objective of their mission. After reaching the system, 200 Ultramarines dropped to the surface, with the rest remaining occupied with the fighting in orbit. Many of the drop pods were shot down, but half of them managed to link up with the battered defenders of Sotha. Advancing through the caves of Pharos, the Ultramarines managed to set demolition charges before the Night Lords caught up to them. Now in captivity, Dantioch revealed Pharos' secrets to Krukesh. After an hours-long search, Krukesh found his prize, the Nightfall. Yet as Krukesh and Scrivok teleported on board, Dantioch overloaded the device. Powerful radiant energy burned dozens of Night Lords in the primary control room and destroyed the room itself. A powerful blast disabled all ships in orbit and teleported Guilliman's fleet to Sotha. Dantioch lost his life in the process, but his sacrifice caused the death of the remaining Night Lords in the system. Although only lasting a few seconds, the blast was visible far out of the Milky Way galaxy and attracted the attention of the Tyranid hive mind, who would launch a series of galaxy-ending invasions during later eras. Aboard the Nightfall, Scrivok killed Krukesh and abandoned the idea of reuniting the Night Lords. Instead, he left the Ruinstorm to aid Horus in his war effort. Back on Macragge, with both Guilliman and Lion missing, Conrad Curze made his move and approached Sanguinius alone. During a tense conversation, it was revealed that both of them possessed the gift of viewing the future. While Sanguinius interpreted his visions as a mere possibility, Conrad viewed them as predestined fate. Especially horrifying was the vision of his death at the hands of an assassin sent by the Emperor. However many times Conrad had sought death, he had always survived. This inevitability caused Curze to become completely insane. The two dueled, yet Sanguinius was incapable of killing his brother. Conrad eventually escaped in the confusion, but only after he blew up the newly arrived Blood Angels. When the light of Pharos lit up the sky of Macragge again, Sanguinius ordered both Guilliman and Lion to return. As the Triumvirate gathered again, it was decided that Lion should use all means possible to capture Conrad. Martial law was declared, gatherings of people were prohibited, a curfew was issued, and civilian communication was listened in on. Within weeks, the city of Illyrium rebelled against these draconian policies, and the Dark Angels were fired upon and attacked by suicide bombers. Although rebels had taken control of the city, there were almost 4 million civilians inside. Lion was given orders to use any means necessary short of orbital bombardment to find Curze, who was surely leading the rebellion. 3,000 Dark Angels attacked the city, not caring about civilian casualties. Death was dealt out indiscriminately, and those harboring rebels were executed, with vast swathes of the population being transferred to internment camps. Tens of thousands lost their lives, and the city was cleared. The remaining rebels hid themselves inside a mountain range full of bunkers. For the Imperials, the optimal strategy was to bombard this mountain range from orbit, yet Lion wasn't authorized to. Stubbornly, he ordered dropships to be loaded with explosives and launched them into the hills, effectively bombing the rebels from orbit. Thus the rebels were dealt with, but Konrad still had not been caught. Yet Lion had been fighting against Curze ever since 008 M31 and was able to predict the behavior of the insane Primarch. Thus Lion went to an abandoned temple at midnight. Just as he anticipated, he was ambushed by Konrad there. After a long fight, Lion defeated Konrad and broke his spine. Once again, Konrad's life was spared. After his capture, Curze was put on trial in front of the citizens of Ultramar. During the judgment, Konrad revealed that Lion used dropships to orbitally bombard the rebels. Upon hearing this, Guilliman became enraged and broke Lion's sword, while Sanguinius banished Lion out of Imperium Secundus. Saddened, Lion left and set course to his homeworld of Caliban to reunite his legion. Yet, as he was preparing to leave Macragge, a revelation came to his mind. The insane Konrad told him earlier that his sword and pride would be broken. Lion teleported to Curze's cell, where he was to be executed, and put a stop to the execution. Lion told Konrad that if his visions were inevitable, then he was destined to die from an assassin sent by the Emperor. If that was the case, then the Emperor must still be alive, and Terra must still be standing. If this was the case, then they had to rush to humanity's homeworld before Horus could destroy it. Konrad was bewildered. For the third time this year, his death was denied. Instead, he became a prisoner of Lion, chained on his ship and used as an oracle. Thus, the Imperium Secundus was dissolved, and most records of its existence were destroyed. The practical side of Guilliman had delayed the arrival of 180,000 Astartes to Terra by 2 entire years. But the War Master did not wait for them. His armies marched closer to Terra. Will they arrive on time, or will Horus win the war before they arrive? Find out in the next episode. Our series on the Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy will continue, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see it. Please consider liking, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.